Did DMT create Atlantis, or did Atlantis create DMT? That, I believe, is the subtext to a question Joe Rogan proposed to Graham Hancock on a recent interview. And this is a fascinating subject to me because I've been to a couple of ayahuasca retreats and just had amazing experiences, and a truly transformative one in particular. I can get into that a little bit, but I am very convinced of the power of ayahuasca in DMT, and I know that Joe Rogan is a big believer in ayahuasca, and he talks about that a lot. So it wasn't a huge surprise when Graham Hancock was talking about these this lost ancient civilization in the Amazon, that Joe Rogan would ask him about DMT and ayahuasca. He didn't use the word ayahuasca, he used DMT, but it was a fascinating question and response, and I actually have a little insight into that. Graham wasn't quite able to answer the question, I don't believe, but I do have a possible answer for Joe. So get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like. Please subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of future videos. And please share on social media when I drop these videos online. Comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this. If you want to support the channel and allow me to spend more time on Cosmic Road and to make the best videos I know how, consider becoming a channel member. See the first line in the description below, or you can simply leave a tip in the tip jar with the super thanks feature right next to the thumbs up button. There's also a new way that you can support Cosmic Road if you would like. I'm a novelist, and so feel free to go and buy my books. I'm Jack Connor. That is one of my books over there, The Atomic Sea. So just find me on Amazon and, buy a book if you want. Okay, so when Graham Hancock was making the rounds promoting his new documentary series, Ancient Apocalypse, of course he went on Joe Rogan, and they had a really fascinating conversation. I've talked about that a little bit before. But there was one particular exchange that really caught my attention, and I didn't have a good excuse to talk about it. But I just decided, why not? Let's just go for it. Because it's a subject near and dear to my heart, because I had a divine healing at an ayahuasca ceremony. That wasn't why I went to the ceremony. That was the furthest thing from my mind. But I had a chronic, crippling physical condition. I can talk about that more later, and I've talked a little bit about that in previous video. But it really was a big part of my life, and it was a big, it was very crippling. And ayahuasca healed me. It was an actual miracle. And I've heard about similar experiences where people have even been cured of cancer and stuff by ayahuasca and by those ceremonies. The plant medicine itself is only part of the overall ceremony. Anyway, so you can understand why I would be very curious and very interested in this exchange from Joe Rogan and Graham Hancock. Here it is.
You often talk about the use of LIDAR and ground-penetrating radar and how they've uncovered these structures, and
it's astonishing.
The ancient Amazon rainforest was filled with massive civilizations.
Yes, absolutely no doubt about it now.
Is it possible that these massive civilizations were also advanced, and through the use of pharmacology, the same way we understand how to synthesize DMT and synthesize very psychedelic drugs, that's how they learned?
Yes, it's perfectly possible that there is science in the hunter-gatherer mode of life, and that they applied that science. The Amazon is not entirely a natural product. The Amazon is a human-made garden. The trees in the Amazon that produce food are hyper-dominant. That didn't happen by accident. That happened because human beings made that happen. They created this incredible, we still don't understand it fully today, the terra preta, the black earth, which is immensely fertile, which reproduces its own fertility through bacteria in the soil. There are still patches of terra preta all over the Amazon, and settlers in the Amazon seek them out to plant in. Again, this is evidence of science. There were cities in the Amazon. Populations of 100,000 or more have been now revealed in the Amazon. It was a completely different from what we imagine it to be. And it used to be 7 million square kilometers. About 2 million square kilometers have been cut down by our rapacious, short-sighted, idiotic civilization. But 5 million square kilometers are left, and we're just beginning to get a hint of what's underneath them as a result of LiDAR, this technique like light imaging and detection ranging, which flies. You can fly a plane over a section of rainforest, and without damaging anything, you can see what's underneath that rainforest. And what's underneath it is gigantic geometrical structures, huge squares, circles, a circle surrounded by a square, just enormous constructions that you would not expect to find hunter-gatherer civilizations having made, and yet there they are in the Amazon.
Now, my take on Joe's question, because he didn't phrase it in the way I would have liked him to have phrased it. It wasn't quite as clear as it could have been to me. Maybe I'm just a little slow. But he seems to be asking whether DMT, and he's probably talking about ayahuasca, because that's how you get it in the Amazon, pretty much. About how ayahuasca could have channeled information that led to the creation of these cities and this civilization, this high civilization within the Amazon. He's either asking that, or else he's asking whether these high civilizations were the ones that had the know-how to produce DMT or ayahuasca. Now, when I think of ancient high civilizations that have been lost to time, that had high technology and spiritual abilities, my mind goes to Atlantis. So were these lost, was this lost civilization in the Amazon some scion of Atlantis? Or something like that, something touched by Atlantis, or the high ancient civilizations of the past that have been wiped away. To me, that makes sense. And so I'm not entirely sure which direction Joe was going with, whether he was asking whether it was the channeled information from ayahuasca that led to the creation of this civilization, or whether it was this high civilization, possibly Atlantean in nature, that had the know-how to develop Mother ayahuasca. Well, in one of the retreats that I went to, I've been to 2 ayahuasca retreats, and I've had 6 ceremonies. I've participated in 6 ceremonies. Truly amazing, transformative stuff. And like I say, I received an actual miracle occurred to me, and I was healed of this terrible malady. And I can talk more about my own experience in a different video. In the first retreat, one of the shamans told a story about the creation myth or the origin story for ayahuasca. And I've gone online and I have not been able to find that story repeated anywhere. There's different versions available, and most of them kind of say roughly the same thing. But the shaman's story was that there was the gods that lived among men in the ancient days, and that at a certain point the gods were leaving. And the people, the regular people said, what are we going to do without you? And so the gods created this vine, and there were 2 plants. They wrapped together, and they said, this is ayahuasca, and it will show you the way. It will guide you after we leave. And then they left, and the regular people, I guess the humans or whatever, they did. And so that was how the faith of ayahuasca was formed, according to my shaman, who was amazing and is amazing. So let's examine that story just a little bit. if there was these gods living among regular people in the Amazon, were those gods Atlanteans, this high people with this awesome culture that the regular people thought of as gods? Or are they talking about possibly aliens or non-humans living amongst them? Obviously, it's impossible to say for me. If you know, let me know. But my read on it was probably this high civilization, this lost high culture that may or may not have been Atlantean, that was called gods by the people. In various versions of the Atlantis story, sometimes, the people of Atlantis are confined to the island and it's destroyed, and that's how Atlantis vanished. But to me, looking at the global reach of this lost culture, and how powerful and robust it was and how global it was, it doesn't make any sense to me that a single, destroyed island or continent or subcontinent could accomplish the destruction of this entire people. That doesn't make sense to me, especially since a lot of the stories confirm that there were colonies in various places from Atlantis. So to me, it makes more sense that the people of Atlantis left for whatever reason. Maybe the energies had shifted, or there was some war in the dimensions that, they were responding to. Who knows? But, my general take on it is that the people of Atlantis, there's probably some war and conflict on Earth, and at a certain point, they may have just left. Maybe my thinking on that will change and evolve over time, but that's kind of where my thinking is now, which would dovetail very nicely with this origin story for ayahuasca. If there was this, colony of Atlantis, or the survivors of Atlantis in the Amazon with this high civilization that they are now finding by LiDAR, it makes sense to me that when they left this world for whatever reason, and the local people said, hey guys, we really liked having you here. What are we going to do without you guys? That they gave them ayahuasca to connect them to the higher dimensions and the higher realms, and to allow them to continue with these gifts that these Atlanteans had bestowed upon them, if that's the way it was. I think it allowed people to have and still allows people to have a greater connection to spirit, into the divine, and also a greater insight into yourself. It takes you to deep places and allows you to work on things. And so both of those are extremely valuable. But I'm obligated to point out that I'm not a doctor and this is not medical advice. Anyway, what do you think about Joe's question and Graham's response? I'm fascinated to hear what you guys have to say. This is a subject near and dear to my heart. So what do you think? Did DMT have anything to do with the creation of this high culture in the Amazon? Or did this high culture create DMT? Chicken or egg? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. Please smash the subscribe button and hit the bell so you don't miss a single video. Please join me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. And please, if you enjoy these videos, please consider supporting the channel by becoming a channel member. See the first line in the description below, and there's 2 tiers of membership to receive exclusive access in videos. Until next time, this is Jack with Cosmic Road.